So welcome. Today we are going to run Android Studio. Open from Start button, or if you have a shortcut on your desktop. When it opens, on the right side you have options to create new projects. On the left side you have the projects you've created. You can create a new project, open an existing Android Studio project. You can check out projects from your version control on the cloud. You can also profile your APK, import other Android projects, maybe created by other third-party systems, software. So we start by creating a new Android Studio. Right to open. So you can create activity, a basic activity, an empty activity. Bottom navigation is just the navigations at the bottom, and menu with the templates that are provided. This is for mobile phones and tablets. Full screen and more. Yes, so we will be doing an empty activity. So you can also develop for via OS apps, TV, which have Android capability. This is also Android Auto, and also Android things. In this tutorial, we will be developing for phones and tablets. So select empty activity, then click next. An activity is a single screen on your app. We'll be seeing this. So an empty activity have nothing. Right? So we give it a name. You can call it our first app. Then package name starts with com dot, then your company name, then your app name, though it can be different. Then save location. Make sure there are no spaces, otherwise you get a warning because of NDK. So we create a new folder on the desktop, then give it a name. You can call it first app. Click OK. Then scroll to select the folder. Then OK. Then change language to Java. You'll be using Java. Then minimum API will depend on the version of Android Studio you're using. Then you click finish. This is just an introduction to Android Studio. When developing our main app, we'll be going into details. So allow it to update indexes and sync your grid sync. This will download and update missing files. Once it is done, you should be able now to see your app folders at the project explorer. So this is where your project files are. This is where we do the coding and also preview our app. And at the bottom we have a build, which shows errors when you're building your application, and logcat will be used to troubleshoot our app when we are testing on new phone or emulator. So those two, we'll be using them a lot when testing. If there is an error, then we go back to the code and rectify. Those are three areas we'll be working on. That's project, build, and logcat. Then when we are done with the app, we'll be using build menu to build bundles and APK. In our case, we'll be building bundles to upload on Play Store. APKs will be used for debug, but since we'll be running directly from our app mobile phone, then we'll be using, you'll not need APK. Here is where you see the phone we'll be testing it. When you click on pre, you should be able to see the raw cut and also build on the progress until it runs on the mobile phone. So we expand up to see the folder. There is manifest, Java, and less. Expanding less, then there is drawable, layout, memap, and various. We expand Java. This way we have our Java code. We have 3 apps. One is our main app, then our test and test. So our concern is on the main app, which has our main activity. That main activity was created when we created our layout, our first activity. Then at the layout, we have activity main. This is the first screen, which is linked to the Java code in the main activity. So all the UI elements in main activity will be running, we'll be calling functions on the main activity. Then at the memap, this is where we'll be loading our UI elements, which we exported from Android, from Adobe XD in various Android screen formats. So we just load all of them. Various, this way we create color, string, and style variables, which you can call anywhere in the code. And if there is any change, you just come and change the variables here. You don't need to look through the code to see where they are referenced. And a drawable, this is where we create XML file for our memap files. So similar to what you have under string. So we'll be creating variables there, which can be called in any of our code. And if there are changes, you come and update the XML file. So though we may not use all of this, basics at this level are good to keep you going in the advanced tutorials. So we can close this. And collapse this. So we'll be using various memap and activity. If you double click on the activity, it loads a screen. And an activity is a single screen in an app. Say splash, edit, or update screen will have its own layout file. Each activity has a corresponding Java class, which extends app compatibility activity, but you see other options. Then inside, by default, it creates on create method, which is called when the class is created. And in our class, we are creating the main activity. We are showing the main activity as the first. So if you open activity main XML, should be able to see the screen, which is right now just our string. You can add elements from the palette by just drag and drop. We can add buttons, text, images, and they will be displayed here. Under text, that's where we have the XML code, which you can edit. You can either add the element directly from the code or from the design. Like here we have a text view, which is here with a text hello world, which is here, and it is constrained from all sides. since we're using constrained layout. So we can, this is where we'll add our UI elements. We can drag a button to add it, and it will be added. This is the button, and here you can see it in the text and also the component tree. So if you scroll down, we have our button added with variable. The error relates to constraint. The button is not constrained since we are using constrained layout. So we need to do that by dragging the circles. You can either do it from there or drag the circle to the edge, to the other edge, to the top, if it's constrained to the top, and to the next element. If the element's on the side, you just drag it and the error will be gone. So back to our design. So you have all the elements that are on our screen shown at the component tree. To add functionality on the button, you just create an on-click function, which you then call in your button. We'll see how to add on-click event to our button. In the main project, this is just an introduction to show you quickly the elements that the parts of Android Studio that we'll be using. So for every UI elements within the class for that layout, you create a method, then link it to your UI element. So we can add a second screen by right-clicking layout. Say we are adding a main screen. This was a splash, so we can create either a main or edit screen or save our settings. So if you right-click layout, to give you option to add a new. So you right-click, then new. Then you select activity, which is a single screen on the app. Then empty screen, empty activity. So we are creating an empty screen. You give it a name, activity name. This is a screen name. Then you have the layout name, which picks from the activity name. If you click launch activity, it will be the first one to be called when the app opens. We already have our main screen, so untick. If you don't want to create a layout file, just untick. So we'll be creating an additional XML file and a layout. So click finish. So this creates another screen. So you have two screens, the main and also this one we are calling another screen, and each will have a class with the functions we can call for the elements that we create UI elements. So here we can add UI elements which we create their functions within another class. So this is an additional screen with a corresponding Java which we'll be using now to create functions which can be used so those are the areas we'll be working on. Android Studio is extensive. as you will see as we continue with this project. But just know how screen, that's the XML file, the layout XML file, links to the Java class, and also how to add UI elements. Thank you.